My name is Chris Knoll. I'm one of the candidates for the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office, #1 on the ballot. Let me start out by telling you about my law enforcement and my emergency services career here in Caldwell County. First of all, let me go ahead and thank the banner, the people that made this event possible, and the community that's willing to be more informative about the candidates that are running for our local elections here. You know, I started my career in 1996 at the Sheriff's Office as a special deputy. After a short time here, I realized that this occupation was my calling. It was what I was meant to do. You know, from there, I attempted to try and get where I could be full-time, but unfortunately, under the financial restraints at the time, the Sheriff's Office couldn't hire me full-time or even send me to the academy. So after a lot of thought and prayer, I decided that this is what I wanted to do as my career. So I quit my job in Hopkinsville while I worked in a factory for multiple years, turned in my retirement, and paid my own way through the academy. In the first part of '97, when I graduated at the Department of Criminal Justice Training, Edible PD was willing to hire me, and I worked there for a short time. It was a good job, but it wasn't where I was meant to be. The whole time I worked there, I knew I had to be back to Caldwell County. After about a year, the Princeton PD had an opening. I applied for that job and got that job, where I worked for a couple years. And I had the opportunity to get back to Caldwell County, but it still wasn't where I felt like I needed to be. I needed to be at the Sheriff's Office. I felt like that's where my ability could shine. So in 2001, Sheriff Hudson, he gave me that opportunity, and that's where I've been since 2001 till current. You know, in my 25 years of my law enforcement career, 23 of them has been here in Caldwell County. I've been patrol, I've been the detective, I've been the chief deputy here for the last 12 years, which I still am. And also had the fortunate ability to be the dispatch, the 911 director, where I've been for over 6 years.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the Sheriff's Office, and how would you use your office to address the problem?
Well, you know, you talk about major issues in this county. You know, there are thefts, there are assaults, domestics, child abuse. You know, there's a lot of things that affects this county. And I can tell you from experience that every one of those are major issues, especially if you are one of the victims of those crimes. But I can tell you what I believe the nexus or the common denominator of all those issues are, and it's the drugs that plague this community, surrounding communities, in the state and in this entire country. You know, the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office, takes an aggressive approach to the drugs and the problems in this county. You know, we have done so for many years I've been here, and we will continue to do that. You know, I'll give you an example. Just a short time ago, our agency was the primary agency in a multi-agency investigation where it was the DEA, the Kentucky State Police, the Princeton Police Department, and the Penn Narcotics Task Force. And with all of us working together and pulling our resources together, we were able to stop a major drug trafficker in this community. You know, I looked at some of the records prior to coming here today, and since the beginning of 2021, the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office has made over 100 arrests for either drug-related issues or alcohol-related issues. You know, the Sheriff's Office, when we're fully staffed, is a 6-man department, and we do realize that our resources are spread thin. But we are very fortunate to have other agencies that I feel like I work well with and will continue to work well with to help solve some of the issues here. And I know it's a group effort. That's something the Sheriff's Office itself cannot do alone, but with the help of others, we can make a good impression here in our county and help with some of the issues that arise here. You know, a couple of things I would like to do if I become your sheriff. I've already talked to some of the department heads about a 56 Judicial Circuit Task Force, which is made up of Lyon, Livingston, Trigg, and of course Caldwell. You know, with our limited resources and with other agencies, but if we all pull together, I think we can make a big impact not only in this county but surrounding counties. And as we all know, that the problems that are happening in this community are happening in other communities as well, and it's the same people. You know, I do realize that there are a lot of drug users in this community. And I'm definitely saying that anybody that is caught with any kind of illegal substance should have to pay that price. There should be accountability whenever you break the law. But also I want to say, as far as the drug traffickers in this community, as far as I'm concerned, they're no different than any other predator. And I'm a firm believer and will do everything I can for the drug traffickers in this community to be held and held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. As far as the people, as far as addiction, again, they should be held accountable. But then again, the sheriff's office should definitely make it available to where resources are available to those people. I mean, we need to work hard at making those people realize that there are resources out there available and that we can do what we can to make sure that put them on a path to sobriety and make them more helpful and better citizens for this community.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you are elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget, and what are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol. If your answer is no, please explain why.
You know, I would love nothing more to tell you that the sheriff's office can have 24/7 patrol. But with the current manpower we have, which is a 6-man department based on the current budget that we have, that's not realistic. You know, I'm very familiar with the budget from being here over 20 years and being part of that budget and assisting the current sheriff with the budget that we have. And 24-hour coverage is just something that we just cannot do. You know, it frustrates me too that we don't have that ability. You know, but I can tell you that I'm more than willing to discuss that topic with our magistrates, our judge executive, and to see what's available to make the budget to where we can hire more people to have that 24/7 coverage. And I will say that our fiscal court, over the years that I have been here, the previous people on the court realize and understand the importance of our emergency services, and I feel very confident that the previous ones, the current ones, and the future people on our court will do everything they can to make that available to the citizens of Caldwell County. You know, we are currently, you know, I learned whenever I came over here from a Princeton police department, from a police department, that there are a whole lot more statutory responsibilities for the sheriff's office. You know, whether it's to collect taxes, mental health transports, you know, civil processes, or even bailiff in the court. So that also kind of spreads our agency a little thin. So there are other expectations and responsibilities of the sheriff's office. You know, I can sit here and promise you a lot of things about what I can do, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to the people. You know, as far as being part of this office, you know, I can just tell you that I feel like I'm the only candidate that has firsthand knowledge about what the budget is and what can be done under that budget. But let me tell you what's something that the sheriff's office has done for the 20 years that I have been here, and something that we will continue to do until resources are available to give us more manpower. You know, we do provide 24/7 coverage, saying that if there is any issues or major issues or things where a citizen needs a sheriff's office, no matter what time of the day of the night it is, that is something that we make sure that is always available. You know, whether I have to respond as your sheriff or the deputies. And we have been very fortunate to have the deputies that we currently have and some that we have previously had that is very committed to this community and is willing to do that and provide that service to our community, you know, 24/7. You know, as far as expectations, as far as the night shift expectations, I will say that my expectations for night shift is the same as it is for day shift, any shift. As far as the people in the office, under my administration, every employee that I have here will have the highest integrity, will be honest, and will treat people as fair as what they can. That is what I feel like the goal and the expectations of this agency should be.
Question 3. In the last decade, there's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? And please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
Well, let me start out by saying that I am very pro-Second Amendment, as long with any other articles of the Constitution. You know, let me read a little piece about the Second Amendment, how it states. A well-regulated militia been necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I read that to say that it is the responsibility of the sheriff and his staff to enforce and uphold the Constitution. When I started this career in '96, through multiple times, and if I become your sheriff, I will swear to an oath. And part of that oath is to uphold the Constitution. And I can assure you that the sheriff's office under my administration will do that. I can tell you that no government entity will direct me or my deputies to do something that I do not feel is part of the Constitution. You know, the oath is something that I take seriously, and anything that infringes on that right will be defended by me and the deputies. You know, your specific question was about an executive order. I believe an executive order is exactly what that says, that it's the government making a mandate or regulation to tell a certain group of what they should and shouldn't do. As far as I'm concerned, as your sheriff, that is something that's not enforceable and something that I don't feel like is a responsibility of the sheriff. That is not my job and not part of my job duties. I feel like I am under no legal obligation to enforce those orders. I feel like every man and woman, as far as every law-abiding citizen, should have the right to carry arms and have those available to them at any time.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of your points you would include. If your answer is no, please explain why not.
I think every entity, whether it's emergency services, whether it's a business out here, that any entity that deals with the public should have a code of ethics. I think what that does, it gives the people that's employed to you a guideline on how they should act and what you expect of them. And I also believe that shows to the community that the agency, and specifically the sheriff's office, is dedicated to show the community that we are doing what is right and what needs to be done. Code of ethics is exactly what it says. It's explaining to the people what you expect from them, as far as being honest, having the highest integrity, doing what is right for the people. We have a responsibility that is a higher level than what it is for the majority of occupations in this country. When it comes to law enforcement, we need to make sure that we are doing what is right. I think that a code of ethics explains to the employees that we are here and that we are working for the people of this county. And under my administration, we will have a code of ethics. We currently have a code of ethics, and those ethics will be enforced.
Do you have any closing remarks?
You know, based on the information that I was able to give today, I'm very confident that I'm the best candidate for the job. You know, over the last several years, and even most recently, I've had opportunities to go to other places, take other jobs, other law enforcement jobs. But I haven't done that. I have ties to this community. You know, I have generations of family that have lived here and that still live here. You know, this is where I want to be and where I feel like I need to be. You know, like I said, I've had those opportunities, and I have not taken any of them as being here as part of the sheriff's office for over 20 years. Actually, be 21 this coming Friday. So, and I understand the obstacles that we're going to face, and I know that I can continue to lead this agency through those obstacles. I'll be the first to say that I don't have all the answers. You know, this isn't going to be just me solving these issues. It's going to be a group of people. It's going to be other emergency services. It's going to be other people in different organizations. It's going to be this community where we all come together and do what we can and get the right answers for this people. You know, I'm willing to educate myself on issues that are affecting the families in our community. You know, and I do realize at the end of the day that every person in this county is affected either directly or indirectly with either drugs, mental health, or other issues. And I'm willing to sit down with the people of the community, other community leaders, to figure out what is in the best interest for this county. Again, I want to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity. And if anybody needs to contact me, they can send me an email, or it's chrisnoel4sheriff@gmail.com, or contact me on Facebook at Chris Noel. you know, I feel like I need to end with saying that I humbly ask for your vote. I feel like a vote for me is a vote in the sheriff's office continuing in the right direction. We've made great strides, and we can continue to do so under my administration. So for that, I humbly ask for your vote. Everybody be kind, and God bless.
Mr. Knoll, thank you for your time.
What do I perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County? I would say drugs is a major issue, not only facing Caldwell County, but the surrounding counties and the whole United States. If elected as sheriff, myself and the deputies will work 24/7, 365 days a year to combat the drug problem that is in Caldwell County. If elected as sheriff, myself and the deputies will not just make drug arrests during the year before an election, but instead we will make drug arrests year-round, 24/7, 365 days a year. And we'll also educate people selling drugs, buying drugs, and let the drug dealers know that Caldwell County does not want, nor will they tolerate, people selling drugs in Caldwell County. Well, the people who are drug users and want to help and want help, I will work to get them help with a faith-based rehab to get them the help that they need. I have learned that a faith-based rehab in-house, where it's long-term, 6 months to a year, gets more and better results than just not going but once or twice a week on an outpatient. And as elected as sheriff, I will work with the citizens of Caldwell County on the drug problems in their neighborhoods, and will keep them anonymous if they give me drug tips on people using, people that are selling, who called or who texted or who sent an email, or however they get the word to me. I will not tell. I will go out, do an investigation, make the case myself or the deputies, and we will work on the drug problem. If elected, will the Sheriff's Department patrol 24/7? Yes, we will patrol 24/7, and the way that I'm going to do that is everyone will work the road, including myself, chief deputy, patrolman, everybody will work the road. I will stagger the shifts where they overlap, and we will see if that works. If it doesn't work, we will try something else that we can get it to where we can patrol 24/7. Now, there might be times that we can't for sickness or school, but I will do everything in my power to patrol 24/7. And I would also split the county up into two sections. There will be a deputy in each of those sections patrolling in the county, and not just be in the city sitting around, whether it be at the courthouse or whether it be at primary schools. I've had a lot of people come to me and talk to me about what my goals are and everything, and that's one of their concerns, is that the Sheriff's Department is always in town and not out patrolling in the county. So I will address that and make sure that we're out in the county patrolling. Like I said, going to split it up into 2 sectors. Then also be in Fredonia patrolling. A lot of concern down there. So I'll be down there, and the deputies will be down there. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to assist the city police if they need assistance or anything. We're gonna help everyone out. We're just not going to hang around out in town and not patrol out in the county and work on stuff like that. So if there's any concerns or questions that the citizens, feel free to come contact me and call me and talk to me. Message me on Facebook, and I'll try to implement what they think will work best if they have a good idea. And I'd ask the citizens of Caldwell County to back me in decisions I make, and I'll try to do my best to do what they need. What is my position on the Second Amendment? Well, this is going to be short. I believe it's going to take all of 3 minutes. Because if I'm elected sheriff, unless the Second Amendment was changed, I would not, as sheriff, violate the Second Amendment and confiscate weapons. It is everybody's privilege to own firearms, to keep and bear arms, and it's not my duty to go out and violate people's Second Amendments so that politicians will be happy that we don't have no guns. So I believe that if anybody, that the federal government would be the ones coming around to pick up the firearms and confiscate them. And like I said, unless the Second Amendment is changed, then I won't be confiscating any weapons. Thank you. In closing, I'd like to share my experience with you. I have been in law enforcement since 1987, where I began as an explorer, and from there I got on Princeton Police Department. I worked at the Princeton Police Department 2 times for a total of 10 years. I also was a canine officer in Princeton. I worked at the Providence Police Department twice. I was canine officer there. I worked there for a total of 15 years, where I worked my way up from patrolman to sergeant to assistant chief, and in 2009 I was promoted as chief, and from 2009 till 2019 I was chief of police in Providence. I worked in Sturgis, where I was a sergeant and assistant chief, and I also had K9. I worked in McCracken County right now, presently from 2019 until present, where I am a road deputy. I have worked transport, going all over the United States, picking up people, bringing them back, work long hours, 50 to 70 hours a week. I also worked, like I said, I worked the road. I've worked the front desk, answered phones, and worked the courthouse, security. And I just like to take this opportunity to ask you for your vote, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this short video and presentation I'm making today as a candidate for Caldwell County Sheriff in the Republican Party. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Don Weedman. I've lived here in the county since 1985, the family and I. My wife is Barbara. We've been married 50 years, And my children are Jonathan and Valerie, which several of you I know went to school with and remember them. Again, I want to thank you for listening to me and giving me an opportunity to let you know about myself, my professional experiences. Would like to go over those. I'm a 40-year plus law enforcement professional. I've had over 26 and a half years in the Kentucky State Police. I retired with honorable retirement, and I've been progressively advancing throughout the state police in my career, culminating with a retirement as major over the Western Operations Branch, which consisted of 8 Western State Police posts. From there, I took a hiatus for a few months, and I went to work with Penn Around Narcotics Task Force. I worked with Penn Around Narcotics Task Force over 3 years, investigating a drug crime here in Caldwell and Webster County, primarily here in Caldwell. After that, I was fortunate enough to be selected for Chief of Police in 2007 at Princeton, and I spent 10 years here at Princeton as the Chief of the Police Department. With that, we have a good knowledge of the county. We have a good knowledge of the people. We have a good knowledge of the criminal element here in this county, as well as the many, many good people in Caldwell County. And that's why we've made Caldwell County our home since 1985, because of the good people in this county, the resources we have, and the many benefits it is for the people who live here in this county.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the Sheriff's Office, and how would you use your office to address the problem?
I think every sheriff's candidate, regardless of party, would have to say drugs is the major concern of everyone in this county. Drugs are thefts, embezzlements, cheating people, and many other things fuel the drug addiction, the drug trade. We have the parasites that are dealers that come into this county and deal drugs to poison our citizens. Now, what are we going to do about that? First of all, there's 2 separate elements that we can look here. First, I want to, as sheriff, be in contact and partner with the Kentucky Office of Drug Policy. They have many programs that are available to help educate, to help those who have addiction. Not everyone needs to go to jail because they have a drug addiction. Jail does not help drug addiction. It may help for a time, but we need to go beyond that. We need to explore the use of Casey's Law, where the family can actually intercede for the person who's not making good judgments and like that, and have them go into some type of rehab. That would be worked with the family and the courts and other partners in the drug, and the word I'm searching for is where we could help people with the drugs, the drug problem itself. Now, what will we do with those, as I called parasites a moment ago? That's where we enter into agreement and associations with the surrounding law enforcement agencies, the other departments that work in law enforcement with us, the sheriffs of the adjoining counties. We need to form a good alliance with them to share information. We need to work with the Penn Around Narcotics Task Force. So they cover several counties, a large area, and are able to help us better manage what we are doing, and we can feed information to them to help them in their ventures. And we need to reach out to the Kentucky State Police and their Drug Enforcement Special Investigations Unit to get help from them and share information with them. It has to be a working relationship between all, and for the goal to be reached, and not just a turf battle over who's going to get the publicity in the paper. We don't need that. That's not accomplishing anything.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you're elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget, and what are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol. If your answer is no, please explain why.
This question is one that's come up, or the need for 24/7 patrol in this county has been around for many years. This question can't be answered in a yes or no fashion. We have to look at many different things that enter into this. We would like to have 24/7 patrol. And as the post commander at Madisonville State Police Post during my tenure there, we tried to have 24/7 patrol, but we were unable to due to manpower, staffing issues, and lack of that. This is the same thing that's happened today with all the law enforcement agencies. But what we can do, we can direct patrol to areas of where there are problems, and not just a lackadaisical go wherever you want to, or be seen, or set within so many miles of a certain geographical limit. We need to be aware of this, set out, go forth, and seek and I will call them thugs, and these outlying areas that are thieving, tearing up stuff, and generally wreaking havoc. That makes people feel unsafe in their homes. And I've been out in outreaches of the county, and people want some patrol. Now, 24/7, I don't see that in the near future. That's something we will work for, and we'll certainly try to achieve. But what we have to work with now is working on problem areas, troubles and reports of incidents, and try to alleviate that and work forward for 24/7 patrol. And then hopefully with finances, manpower, as time goes on, we can move towards that. But I will not promise 24/7 patrol, because that's a promise I can't fulfill right now.
Question 3. In the last decade, there's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? And please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
Well, first of all, let me state, I'm a life member of the National Rifle Association, so that should give you an idea how I feel about gun rights. I am a supporter of the Second Amendment, a supporter of the First Amendment, and a supporter of all 10 amendments in the Constitution of this United States, which starts beginning with "we the people." We the people make up this country, and we the people should have the say on what is done in this country, not certain individuals with executive power issuing executive orders, which are not law. They're an executive order, temporary at the best. I will maintain my position to support the Constitution of the United States and the Second Amendment.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include. If your answer is no, please explain why not.
Ethics. It's very important. And there was, on the second question, there was a B part, if you will. What are some of the expectations you would have for the deputies on night shift? The same expectations I would have on day shift for them, to treat people as they should, conduct themselves in a demeanor which is professional and proper. There's a certain decorum that's necessary for a law enforcement officer, maybe more so because the trust put into that office. If anyone has any questions about how I feel about doing things the proper way and behaving and doing what you should do in the day and as at work and personally, you should be aware of what changes were made in the Princeton Police Department in the 10 years I was there as chief. There's certain ways to do things the proper way, and that's the way it has to be done. And the bottom line is the ethics are there. It's a matter of enforcing those ethics. I will review the policy procedure manual that the sheriff's office has and give it a very close look and determine what needs to be changed to bring. If this is not in place, I do not know what their operation manual has in it. If this is not in place, it's certainly something that we will put in place, because that's how you gain the respect of the citizens, by being as you should be, not as I tell you to be and then I do whatever I want to. We can't do that. That's not right. The double standard does not apply. The same standard should apply to the officers as it does the citizens.
And in closing, is there anything else you would like to add?
We talked here briefly on four very complex issues. It's hard to get everything said in a short period of time. But what we would like to assure people of is that we will do everything that we can do to operate the Sheriff's Department in Caldwell County as effectively and as efficiently as we can, and to make the citizens of Caldwell County proud of the Sheriff's Department. Now, I can say all these things, but what you need to do as voters, Republican voters in the primary coming up May the 17th, you need to check with your neighbors, check with the people you go to church with, check with the business people you have. Ask them about me, ask them about my professional background, how I conduct myself, and my personal history, how I conduct myself as a citizen, as a person in this community. That's what I believe in, and that's what needs to be looked at. I will put my record up against anyone. I do have, and I always will have, a listed phone number. This phone number is my home phone number that I pay the bill on, and I keep this number so people can contact me. If you have any questions, please give me a call at home. If I'm not there, I may be out campaigning, but if I'm not there, I will call you back, because I want to know what you've got to say, what your concerns are, and what you're interested in, because I will be a servant, as I have been for many years, to the public. And we need to make sure that we conduct ourselves in the proper way, because we are a representative of the people of Caldwell County as a citizen, and I certainly hope to be as the sheriff of Caldwell County. Thank you.
Mr. Weedman, thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name's Steve Caldwell. Married to my wife Marla for 38 years. I have 4 children, 4 grandchildren. I'm a member of Christ Tabernacle. I also volunteer with the food pantry distribution team, which is a great volunteer team. I'm a retired chief from the Atlantic County Sheriff's Office in New Jersey, 33 years of experience. I served as the operations commander. Part of my duties was I was responsible for 120 sworn personnel. I ran 2 courthouses, K-9, community affairs, legals, everything that had to do with the operation of that office I was responsible for. I also was responsible for the CAD system. I had to check all our reports on a daily basis to make sure everything was done, arrest reports, incident reports, investigation reports. So pretty much the whole gamut of what would be involved in running a sheriff's office of that size. I also was lead instructor at the Atlantic County Police Training Center for 25 years. I trained both police recruits and veteran officers in things like unarmed defense, impact weapons, officer survival, just about anything that needed to be instructed. I was the go-to guy, and I instructed the various topics.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the Sheriff's Office, and how would you use your office to address the problem?
I'm probably going to give the the answer everybody else gave, and I'm going to say drugs. I think there's a lot of things right now that go on, not only here, but all across America. But drugs has been an issue as long as I've been in law enforcement. One of the key things here is, I believe, visibility is a main factor. We're kind of losing the war. Things like no-knock warrants are now suspended. Bail reform certainly hasn't helped. So we have to do things the right way. There's no more headbanging. You basically have to go out there, you have to be visible, you have to reach out to the community, get the information that you can get, and you have to tackle it from that perspective. One thing that I'm going to say is, as a canine handler, I guarantee you if I become the sheriff, there will be a drug dog in the sheriff's office. I will either adopt it or buy it. I'll train it, I'll handle it, I'll feed it, I'll house it, it'll stay with me. As a constitutional office, I can do that, and I think it's unbelievably necessary. The drug dog is your probable cause. That is the #1 factor in fighting that. Another thing, one of the things we did in Atlantic County with our sheriff's office was we had a chaplain program. We basically reached out to the pastors in the community. We did meetings with the pastors. We went door to door because, to be honest with you, without God, you can't win this war. And I think it's very important to have that. So that would be some of the things that I would do. One of the other things that I'm looking into is diversity. There are grants out there, diversity grants, that I think this office could use to add personnel to the department.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you are elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget, and what are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol. If your answer is no, please explain why.
Well, my answer may not be a popular one. At this time, I would not commit to that, for the simple fact I'd need to sit down, view the CAD system, I'd need to do a needs assessment, I would need to do a deployment analysis. I think with the manpower the way it stands right now, it would be a burden. If you commit to it, you have to fill it. And to fill it, if somebody's off on vacation or somebody's out sick, now it's overtime. I think it would really strain the overtime budget. I think it would strain the gas budget. I think, like I said, I'm looking into the diversity grant, and I think that's important. The diversity grant basically started in the big cities, and what it does is it brings in a diverse members to your department to better represent your community. I'm real good at grants. I brought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of grants to our sheriff's office. I'm great with creative writing because you have to be. It's just going to take a little research and a little effort, and I'd be more than happy to do that, and I think I can be successful with that.
Question 3. In the last decade, there has been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? And please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
My position is that, to use a Supreme Court term, it's stare decisis. It's settled law. The Heller case basically stood up, and the Second Amendment's here. And no, I would not enforce an executive order or any kind of mandate. Again, as a constitutional office, you have the right to not enforce those orders, and I certainly, as sheriff of this county, would never enforce any type of mandate, whether it's Second Amendment, whether it's mask mandates, anything would not be enforced under my regime.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include, and if your answer is no, please explain why not.
I absolutely would install a code of ethics. First and foremost, no member of my family would ever work for the office if I was sheriff, nor would any member of the office have their family members work. That's called nepotism. That is a violation of the ethics rules, and it would never stand if I was the sheriff. What was the last part?
I'll read it again. Would
sorry.
you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include, and if your answer is no, please explain why not.
Well, like I said, we touched on that a little bit. Another thing is, I believe every member of the office is a worker. I don't care if it's the sheriff or the deputy chief, everybody's a worker. Nobody sits in the office. You do your administrative work and you go out. If transports need to be done, if courts need to be watched, if you need to get out on the road, then you go.
And in closing, is there anything else you would like to add?
I want to say we've been here 3 years now, and this has been a wonderful experience for me and my wife. We've met great people. It would be an honor if I was elected to be your sheriff. One of the important things is I have no preconceived notions about anybody or anything. So I have no grudges. I could walk into the office with a new set of eyes coming from a department that was, of course, about 20 times larger than this one. But having been there, I think I could be a real asset. One of the things, I attended over 70 law enforcement schools. I've been awarded numerous commendations and medals. I have the Wounded in Combat Medal. I also have the Combat Cross in confrontations that I had, being stabbed and shot at. So I've seen it, and I understand what it takes to be the sheriff. I also was acting sheriff for a while with the sheriff's office. So I know both ends, administrative, operational, and like I said, if I was elected sheriff, it would be my honor, and I can guarantee you would have the best sheriff you could have. Thank you.
Mr. Caldwell, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Keith Suits. I'm running for Caldwell County Sheriff in this upcoming election. What I'm going to do is introduce myself a little bit, tell you a little bit about my background. I'm married. I have 3 children. I have a 2-year-old boy, a 9-year-old girl, and a 14-year-old boy, which all go to Caldwell County schools, and they love it. My little girl has been a part of cheerleading. My boy plays football. He's now in middle school. I've been a resident of Fredonia for around 20 years. I have worked at Western Kentucky Correctional Complex as a correctional officer, as a correctional sergeant. And that's where I started my career field in law enforcement, was in the Department of Corrections. While there, serving under the Department of Corrections, I served as a K-9 unit member as well as a CERT team member. I've done a lot of transports, dealt with court appearances for the inmates, transporting them to and from the court. I have worked for the city of Princeton, is where I started my law enforcement career out on the streets. I worked at city of Princeton from around June of 2013 until around the late 2014, early 2015, where I actually went to Marion Police Department. I worked there for a short bit. It wasn't my cup of tea. I missed this community and where I had started out, where I've learned most of my law enforcement initiatives from. So I was taught to come back to Caldwell County Sheriff's Office. From there, I worked Caldwell County Sheriff's Office for about 5 years before going to Lyon County, where I'm at now.
Question 1. What do you perceive as the major issue facing Caldwell County that can be addressed by the Sheriff's Office, and how would you use your office to address the problem?
I feel like the drug usage and drug addiction, I believe, is one of the biggest issues we faced, as well as most of the communities in surrounding counties. Like I said, I've worked at Marion Police Department, I've worked at Lyon County Sheriff's Office now. The drug problem seems to be the main key that starts other problems as far as thefts, robberies, assaults, domestics. I think a lot of the drug problem has a lot to do with those things. I think it's the tip of the iceberg. In reference to my office, if elected, dealing with those issues, or the drug issue, I believe, is be proactive policing. Also, getting the community more involved and taking information from the community about the dealing and the introduction of the drug to our communities, where it's coming from, and working with the community as a whole to try to fix that problem. I don't think just one entity of law enforcement is going to get that accomplished. I think as a community as a whole working together, I think we can do that under those circumstances. As far as how I think the best way to try to get rid of that, as far as assisting the court systems and getting these offenders, these repeat offenders, drug offenders, into rehabilitation programs, and working diligently with the court system to get that accomplished, to get these offenders in rehabilitation and get those programs completed to hopefully get them off the addiction of the illegal narcotics that's causing issues.
Question 2. Will your department provide 24/7 patrols for the citizens of Caldwell County if you are elected? If your answer is yes, please explain how the department would accomplish this within the sheriff's budget. What are some expectations you would have for those deputies on night patrol? And if your answer is no, please explain why.
I would do my absolute best to provide 24/7 coverage of the county. I believe it's a necessity as a part of a law enforcement agency. Definitely heading that law enforcement agency if elected. I feel like switching the shifts up a little bit, maybe making day shift come in maybe a little later and working a little later in the evening, and having the evening shift or night shift work a little later, early up into the mornings. If I could not provide the 24/7 coverage as far as having a deputy on the road 24/7, I would at least have one that would be available for a call if it was an emergency call that we needed to come out on. With that being said, even if it was not labeled as an emergency, if it was something that somebody felt like they needed law enforcement, I would also direct the on-call deputy be called, or myself, if they was unavailable for some reason.
Question 3. In the last decade, there's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and gun control. What is your position on the Second Amendment? And please include in your answer if you would enforce an executive order that directed law enforcement to confiscate specific weapons.
This question in itself kind of hits home. I've always been a big supporter of the Second Amendment. I've always been a big supporter of gun rights. With that being said, in my role as sheriff, as considered a constitutional officer and a sworn peace officer, originally when I got into law enforcement, I took an oath, a sworn oath, to the position of either to protect the citizens I serve constitutional rights. The very first part of the oath that I swore in on, it states, unquote, "I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth." And under that oath, I will not infringe or violate one's constitutional rights. And I feel like that if there's an executive order to confiscate certain weapons, I feel like that is a violation of the Second Amendment right. And I would not carry that order out with my sheriff's department. That would be something that the federal government would have to do on their own at that point in time, and I would assist the citizens of the county to fight that to its full. I am a big hunter. I'm an avid hunter. I like to shoot guns. I have taught my children everything they need to know about guns. Another thing about the Second Amendment, I feel like the Second Amendment provides the citizens of any county within our state or the United States as a whole
the extra security and comfort to be able to protect their homes, their communities, and their families within their communities and their homes. Another thing I've followed up, and I have actually wrote essays on while I was in school about the Second Amendment, and I feel like taking one's gun rights away from them and adding gun control only assists in helping the criminal element affect what they're doing as far as committing crimes. I feel like that with a strong Second Amendment state, Commonwealth, I feel like that the criminal element would at least think twice about breaking into someone's home or stealing from them or trying to do bodily harm or serious physical injury to them if they know that possible victim's not willing to be a victim and is willing to fight and is armed.
Question 4. Would you establish a code of ethics for your employees? If your answer is yes, please explain some of the points you would include, and if your answer is no, please explain why not.
The code of ethics, I definitely would. I stand firm in being professional. My agency, I would form one. I would have to come up with one. I would make sure that it covers being professional at all times, dress codes in there. I want a department that the citizens of Caldwell County and within our community as a whole will feel comfortable in coming and speaking to. They won't have to worry about being bigoted against or judged against. My office and my deputies will be willing to help them and assist in any way, probably more so than a lot of other agencies. I feel like that even if, as a law enforcement officer, if there's something that we can't do directly to assist somebody that feels like they really need assistance by law enforcement, at least we can do is point them in the right direction and assist them and see it through that they get the assistance they need.
In closing, is there anything else you'd like to add?
In reference to the second question, I believe it was, you said that if there was anything in particular that I would expect the night shift deputies, I would expect them to make their rounds throughout the county, check on local businesses that's closed, churches, and I would make sure that they do a building check form that showed that they'd been there and what time. I feel like that gives a better timeline if something was to happen before, after. It would be better recognized, noticed, and dealt with more accordingly and more effectively if we have deputies out there doing that. I would also expect them to be proactive throughout their entire shift, not just part of it, whether it be traffic stops or just normal patrol, talking to people, getting out at the local businesses that are open at night, Walmart, wherever, and communicating with our citizens to make sure that they have nothing that they would like to share, maybe assist us in dealing with any crimes or anything that might be going on that we're unaware of.
Mr. Suits, thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.